You know, despite being the main protagonist of the series, Michael Afton is still kind of a mysterious character. I mean, we don't even know how many games we play as him in. We can only be sure of 1, 4, and 5, but let's be honest, he is most definitely the protagonist of 6. But an even bigger question is, what is his motivation? Sure, after Sister Location, we know he wants to find his father, but for what? PJ Haywood said it was for answers, but he also said he didn't know for sure. So what? Did he want to kill William? Why? Well, today I want to talk about what I believe Mike's motives to be throughout the first 6 games. Now, I'm not sure if I'd call this a theory, more so speculation with light evidence, although I am trying to be as objective as possible with minimal headcanons. When I go into like headcanon territory, I'll be sure to tell you guys. It's only gonna be like twice anyway. And just a heads up, for this video, I'm gonna be operating under the theory Mike is Fritz. If you guys don't believe that, don't worry, I'll explain how my idea still works without that. First though, let's talk about the movie, more specifically Vanessa in the movie. I have seen some people say that Vanessa in the movie is an adaptation of Mike from the games, even though Mike is literally the main protagonist of the movie, whatever. The thing is, I think they're right, to an extent. I think game Mike is kind of split between the two. Movie Mike has more of his backstory, you know, with the dead little brother and blaming himself for his brother's death, even though one of the two is definitely more responsible than the other. While Vanessa adapts more of his personality and relationship with William. At least so far, we still don't know if Movie Mike is going to be revealed to be an Afton in the next ones, but I don't think so, because I've read I haven't read it, but I've seen some stuff from the novel, and if that's true, let's just say we'll have another Star Wars situation on our hands. The reason I say this is because I've seen some people say that since Vanessa in the movie knows about William's crimes, that means Mike in the games also does. I disagree with this. Although I do think Mike was working for William at one point, I also don't think he knew anything about William and the missing children until Sister Location. Well, I mean, I think he knew about the missing children, I just don't think he knew William had anything to do with it. I just wanted to say that because I've disagreed with it for a while, and this is the only time I'll be able to say it, so. Before we talk about my interpretation of Michael's motives, let's talk about the 2 most popular interpretations, Mikehero and Mikeacomplice. Basically, Mikehero is that Mike's main motivation is to, you know, help the spirits and do his father's work, stuff like that. Mikeacomplice is that Mike was working with William until Sister Location, and then he turned against him. Under both of these interpretations, Mike is trying to like redeem himself for the bite victim's death, who I'm just gonna call Garrett, just, you know, using different methods. Pretty much think of it as a hero or villain route, even though under Mikeacomplice he still isn't really a villain, but whatever, it's close enough. So you might be wondering, which one of these do I agree with? Well, my answer is neither, but also kind of both. I'll explain why. Let's start with the main clues we get from Michael's motives. The poster in FNaF 6, the Immortal and the Restless, and Michael's speech at the end of Sister Location. Let's talk about the poster first. The poster seems to depict the Afton family. A clown, a bear, and a man with a puppet that looks exactly like him. The reason I'm talking about this first is because I think it shows a sign of Michael's early motivations during FNaF 2. Basically, I think the poster is telling us William was using Michael, and I think that was during FNaF 2. I don't think it was during Sister Location, because if you think about it, Michael wasn't really doing any of William's dirty work. I know a lot of people think William sent Mike down there specifically to free Elizabeth, but I don't think that's true at all. I think he specifically sent him down there to die. I mean, think about it. Why would William want Elizabeth free? Why would he want to get rid of a test subject, especially one that's so loyal to him? And it's definitely not because he loves her, because he doesn't. He doesn't love any of his children. That's basically stated outright in the 4th closet. In the books, he literally beats his children. He beats Elizabeth, and in the books, he's really just using Elizabeth. But the books and games are a different continuity. Sure, but William's characterization stays pretty consistent. They both have basically the same motivations. They're both intelligent, they're both manipulative, and they both use their children. So basically, William doesn't really care about his kids. I think William was still planning on Elizabeth being there after Mike was done. I mean, there's even a line where it stated Elizabeth and the others have tried to escape before, but they always get put back, so I definitely don't think William wanted to let her go.
I've been out before, but they always put me back. They always put us back inside.
Anyway, back to why I think FNaF 2 is where William used Mike. I think William realized he needed to get the remnant from the toys, not the wizards, because he gets the remnant later. Or maybe not remnant, but their parts, and then he would learn about remnant after experimenting with the parts from the toys. I mean, we don't know when he discovers remnant. Or maybe he just wanted to mess with their facial recognition. Whatever you think fits best, it doesn't really matter. But he can't just go do it. I mean, we already know he worked at the FNaF 2 location, killed those kids, he quit, and now his alias is a murder suspect, presumably. And Fazbear Entertainment would definitely recognize him, and they have the whole policy of not letting previous employees in. So now how is he gonna get his parts that he needs? Well, I think this is where he realized he could use Mike to get in. I don't think he told Mike all the details though, like about the dead kids or anything like that. He probably told Mike something like, I need you to get parts for my robots, they aren't working, or something like that. And this part is a little bit more headcanon-y, but I would guess he would probably use Michael's guilt of killing Garrett against him. You know, that might not be true though, it doesn't really matter. And yeah, I know William didn't build the toys, but I doubt Mike knew that. This also explains why in FNaF 2, Mike's alias is Fritz Smith, while every other time he works at Freddy's, his alias is Mike with a different surname. Basically, William gave him the alias to be extra careful. This could also be why the alias is the Fox Foxy kid. If William knew Fritz was possessing Foxy, then he gave Mike the alias as a bit of irony. I mean, it's definitely something he would do. This also shows more of William and Mike's characters. William is very careful, except for when he's not, and Mike is less careful, still using his real name, even when he's trying not to be recognized. This is even kind of backed up in the FNaF movie, where William changes his whole name and whole identity, while Vanessa only really changes her last name but keeps her first name. Also, William sending Mike will explain how Mike knows how to survive the night without a phone call, because William told him what he would have to do. You know, he worked the night shift. And sure, the mask in the box came in after his week, but he would still probably be updated on the changes. And if you don't believe Mike is Fritz, then you could say he just heard rumors about the animatronics being able to, move around at night or trying to kill people. He has to know something though and start asking William questions for later in the story. Oh, so if you don't believe Mike is Fritz, then you can explain the poster as either it's not the Aftons, it's just the main antagonist of FNaF 6 itself, or FNaF 1 could be when he uses Mike. I don't know, but that's just what I'm saying. So yeah, in case you don't believe Mike is Fritz. So yeah. So what now? Well, this is where I think The Immortal and the Restless comes into play. In case you don't know, The Immortal and the Restless is about this girl, Clara, trying to get this vampire, Vlad, to confess that her son is his and take responsibility for his son. Vlad continues to deny it, even though it's obviously his, until he slips up and says he bought a kid's meal. Basically meaning he does, accept the child. That's what's implied. So where does Michael come into play? Well, not only is this a show Michael watches, but he also directly talks about it in the logbook with this quote. When asked what fictional characters he relates to, Michael says this: Clara from Immortal and the Restless, because everything about this place is crazy and no one seems to notice except me. What this quote reveals to us, I think, is that Clara is a representation of Mike in this show. And Vlad? Well, he's more up for interpretation. Some think he represents Fazbear Entertainment, and that still works for what I'm going to say later. But right now I'm going to say Vlad is William. And the baby is basically, all the crimes William's committed and, the animatronics being able to move. Basically the kids possessing the animatronics is what that is. And also, let me just say real quick why I think this actually represents Mike's story and it's not just a random show for Mike to relate to. I think so because this show appeared in Sister Location. Sister Location is a very story-heavy game, and I think The Immortal and the Restless is supposed to show us kind of how Mike even got to Sister Location before it was even revealed in the custom night cutscene, kind of showing us more about what happened, just from a different perspective. So pretty much what this means is that Mike, after working a shift at FNaF 2, he saw how strange the robots were acting, and he decided to ask William questions about it, but William just kept coming up with excuses. Maybe Mike even started to connect it to the dead kids, but that doesn't really matter. He got to a point where Mike obviously knew something was up, and that is why I think he started to work at the FNaF 1 location. Now you might be wondering, why didn't he just start working there earlier? Because he couldn't, there was always a night guard, Phone Guy. But since Phone Guy dies, Mike is able to work as a night guard so he could get more personal time with the animatronics. If he just worked in the day, he might think they only act up at night, right? If he was Fritz, and if those were the rumors he was hearing. Throughout the week, I think Mike would learn for sure that they are possessed, even if he started to suspect it before. I mean, Bonnie and Chica literally moaned right outside his door. I also think those newspapers in FNaF 1 are actual newspapers Mike read throughout the week to learn more about the MCI, but that is just, that's more of a headcanon thing. So I think on night 7, Mike tampers the animatronics to get proper confirmation whether or not they're possessed. Whether or not he does doesn't really matter. Mike has his suspicions now. He might even think William is the killer or William is involved somehow. But what does he do with that? Well, in Immortal and the Restless, it's only when Clara's actions start to get more and more extreme that Vlad slips up. Even though technically, in my opinion, the most extreme action she did was burning down Vlad's house, but then her saying she's going to sell the ring was what made Vlad slip. So, one of those is definitely more extreme than the other. But I still think it works for this. I think the extreme action was Mike working at FNaF 1, and I think William found out about that. I think Mike maybe told him, I worked at Freddy's again, I know something's up. I also think that's why Mike used an alias in FNaF 1, because I don't know what William's role would be in the company, but I still think he would be somewhat connected to Fazbear Entertainment, right? He would still be the boss of it, and I think he would know all the employees working there, even if he doesn't know them all personally. So that's why Mike would use an alias. I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, like I said, Mike basically, I think Mike maybe told him, he worked at Freddy's again, he knows something's up, he might even have brought up the dead kids. And then William, who's the great father he is, just oh shit, my kid knows about my crimes, now I have to kill him, great father. And I think that's when he sent him to Circus Babies. But before that, I think that William came clean. At least partially. Why? I'll talk about that later. But anyway, he asks, in quotation marks, for William to go to Circus Babies. Basically tell him something about he can save his sister. William didn't even know what he was talking about. I also think he tells him about the dead kids, but not that he killed them. In fact, someone else killed them, and he was even trying to help them be free. He'll help Elizabeth. I mean, Mike wanted to make up for what he did to his brother, right? That's probably more of a headcanon thing. I'll explain more why I think he told Mike about the MCI later. I also think he told Mike to get a job, he had to find an ad in a magazine. I'll discuss why I believe this later too. And then this part might be controversial, but I think right after this is when Follow Me happens. And basically, William got the remnant from the classics, Not to experiment with them, but so they will kill Mike when he works there. I mean, maybe he want to experiment with them after. Why couldn't he trust Elizabeth to do it? Because Elizabeth does not want to kill Mike. In the entered boss fight in Sister location, they say this when they ask why Mike won't come to the scooper with them.
I don't understand. You won't die.
And then the canon ending, we see that this is true when Elizabeth gives Michael a part of her remnant, which means she is the reason he is even alive. So basically, I think she does know it's Michael. I know a lot of people think, oh no, she thought Michael was William. I do not think so. I know people think that because of what Michael said. He said, this.
They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
I don't think he's including Elizabeth in they. I think he's just talking about the MCI. Because he refers to Elizabeth separately in that same speech. But then, why does she try to kill Mike in FNaF 6? Well, it's because she doesn't recognize him. In this death quote, when baby kills you, she says this.
You're not who I expected to see.
This means that she thought whoever was working there was just some random person.
Hey guys, I had to come in here real quick again, because there's actually another quote that she says that kind of throws a wrench in this. She also says this sometimes when she kills you.
I heard your call.
Now this just throws a wrench in, this contradicts the game too, not just my theory. She thought William called them, right? That's that's what's implied. So she says, I heard your call after she kills you. So now why is she trying to kill William? Why is she trying to kill William? That's a whole different question. When literally, at the end of the game, she's like, I want to make you proud, right? And then also, my quote that I brought up was, you're not who I'm expecting to see. But I don't know. So I just had to throw that in there because that's interesting. I want to see you guys think about that. I still think my idea could be right because this quote kind of goes against the game as well. But yeah.
I think what's kind of interesting, this kind of reveals something about Elizabeth's character. She's basically what people think William is. She's actually the one who wants to, keep her family alive. A lot of people think it's William, but no, it's Elizabeth. I think that's a really interesting character. At least that's what I see it as. And another reason why I think Elizabeth knows it's actually Michael is because of this line in the entered boss fight.
I know it was an accident.
Sure, Elizabeth's death was an accident, but it seems to me like the game is implying over and over that Mike is doing what he's doing in Sister Location mostly out of guilt.
Welcome back for another night of intellectual stimulation, pivotal career choices, and self-reflection on past mistakes.
And honestly, that's the only time I can think of, actually, so maybe it's not doing it so excessively like I said. But still, I think, Elizabeth is actually talking about Garrett's death here, which, was an accident. Well, I don't know what Elizabeth is thinking in this moment. Maybe she's Mike is scared of something going wrong with her. I'm just, spitballing on that part. But yeah, basically the point is, definitely think Elizabeth wouldn't have killed Michael. Definitely think she recognized him. Definitely think William got the remnant to kill Michael. But then there is a problem with that. Ennard says that they have tried to escape before, but they always get put back. And if my idea is true, and Mike literally worked at Sister Location a week after him and William had that conversation, they wouldn't have had time to escape, pretty much. So that is a problem with it. I guess we don't know how much time there was in between William and Mike talking and Michael working at Circus Babies. If it was a month, then I could see them trying to escape. That's just what I think, though. I guess theoretically William could have already had the remnant for them, but then I don't even know how he would talk to Mike, because it seems to me everything on Follow Me happens on the same night. Follow Me is so confusing after it was repurposed to be Molten MCI, unless maybe it wasn't, but I'll talk about that in my Follow Me 2015 video. Even though I don't believe in that theory, I still want to discuss how it could still work. Now let's talk about Mike's monologue. So remember earlier when I said Mike has to have known something about the MCI before working at the bunker? Well, it's because of this line in Mike's monologue.
They were all there.
To me, this implies that Michael knew the MCI would be there in some way. I mean, the they here has to be the MCI, right? I mean, I don't know what else it could be. But then at the end of the speech, Michael seems pretty adamant on finding William and presumably killing him, as he has no problems with him dying in 6. And if you think it's the FNaF 3 guard, and you think he burnt down Fazbear Fright, obviously he wanted to kill him there. So I was thinking, why would he be okay with William killing children at first, and then all of a sudden turn on him? But then I realized William didn't necessarily have to tell him the full truth, like I said earlier. And then how would Mike know he was the killer? Because he got injected with the MCI's remnant, and now has their memories. Well, actually, I guess that's not what happened in the books. I was about to say Carlton got injected and he got memories. That's not what happened. Remnant getting injected in you get the memories right. I swear to God that's something in Frights. It's been a while since I've read any Fazbear Fright stories that weren't just for a video. Swear to God that's something in Frights where you can get the memories from the remnant. Or Agony, something like that. Someone in the comments, please tell me. And he also got the memories of them, being killed by a yellow rabbit. And I think Michael knows that Spring Bonnie is his father's, preferred suit. So was able to put 2 to 2 together and realize that William lied, and he did kill the children this whole time. And now, okay, this part is a little more of a headcanon fanfiction, and this only works if Garrett dies first. But I think Mike might blame himself for the MCI's death if, William did kill Charlie after Garrett died as a response to his death. And no, William does not have to care about Garrett to kill Charlie in response to it, there's this Reddit comment. Basically, William is a narcissist, and he would see basically Henry having a living child when he lost one in some sort of like personal attack. So he would, you know, bring Henry down to his level, something like that. Basically, that's what I believe. I think it's really good. And we do know William was jealous of Henry. You know, novels, again, I know different continuity, but no reason to think he wasn't in the games. Anyway, William killing Charlie would lead to him realizing that she possesses the puppet, which would lead to him killing the MCI, which would lead Mike to feeling guilty. You know, that part might not be true. It actually doesn't matter if he does anyway. He's still hunting down William to kill him either way. I just thought that would be kind of cool. Also, he might want to free the spirits if you think he literally plays any role in Happiest Day at all. I think that might be possible, but I'll talk about that another day. Also, remember when I said earlier that Mike told him to find an ad in a newspaper? It's because of this line.
I found it. It was right where you said it would be.
And then the logbook, Foxy, you know, who represents Mike, is reading the same magazine that is mentioned in sister location.
Whether you were approached at a job fair, read our ad in screws, bolts, and hairpins, or if this is the result of a dare, we welcome you.
The reason for this is because Mike actually works at the bunker, which means he would have to actually legally get a job. I don't know how long that would take, but basically William was like, they put ads in magazines. You just wait until you see one of those and apply that way. That's what I'm thinking. And also, William would have to get time to get the remnant from the MCI for the fun times, under my interpretation that he specifically got them to kill Mike. The only problem with this is that the next line, they were all there, and the there seems to be the same it from the last sentence, so I don't know.
Guys, I actually found a explanation for this. It is the same, the it and the there. It's basically saying like, the bunker was right where you said it would be, and that would be in the magazine. So I was thinking like the it was the application, now it's still the bunker, basically. So yeah.
And you know, from there on out, we know the rest. Mike's main motivations for the rest of the series is to find his father, basically make him pay for everything he's done. He's basically a vigilante. Hell, I mean, in You're the Band, someone breaks into Freddy's, steals merchandise, and instead of calling the cops, he breaks into some other woman's house to get back the merchandise. So yeah, he's definitely a vigilante. So what do you guys think? I think the story I've made up for Scott Cawthon is really satisfying and makes a nice arc. You know, Mike kills his brother, and throughout the years tries multiple different ways to make up for it. From doing what his father said to get his approval, to even investigating, you know, the animatronics himself, maybe investigating the killer at the same time, you know, trying to save his sister, and finally trying to stop the man truly responsible for everything. And if you think he has any role at all in Happiest Day, setting his brother and most of the important victims of his father free, and then is off doing whatever he's doing in the modern story, because I don't think if Mike is dead. Sorry, the M. Afton thing is enough for me, and I need more Mike content anyway. I pray every night to Scott Cawthon that Mike is alive and Vanessa's his daughter.
I come before you today, humbled and humiliated, to ask you for one thing. I want you to
bring back Michael Afton and make Vanessa his daughter.
So, what do you guys think of my version of Mike's motivation? So let's call this version Mike Vigilante because it just sounds cool. Make sure to subscribe for more epic videos like this.